Who's this Deku, and why do all the pros want to adopt him? By 80sGayTrashGoblin. Chapter 20. One Step in the Door. Alright, y'all. So, to start this off, we do have a new group chat called Friends, smiley face. I'll do a quick run through of all the names real quick in it, and I'll put a copy of this in the description down below at the end of the video. Broccoli-chan is Izuku. Sonic the Hedgehog is of course Iida. Hot Pocket is Todoroki, that's funny. Dr. Jekyll is Hatsume. Mr. Sandman is Honenuki. And Mrs. Darcy is Yaomomo. "7:19 a.m. in the Friends group chat. Sonic the Hedgehog. Good luck to everyone taking exams today. Mrs. Darcy. Best of luck to Midori and Hatsume. Mr. Sandman. Good luck, you guys. Broccoli-chan. Good luck to you guys too. Dr. Jekyll. Think. Hot Pocket. Welk. Mr. Sandman. Alright, who told Toto how to meme? I want names. Dr. Jekyll. Izuku. Broccoli-chan. Betrayed. Izuku squinted, going through the PowerPoint on his laptop one final time. He was presenting an analysis on Endeavor, and why he's actually the worst hero. He had sent the presentation to Shoto already, who had just responded to him with a thumbs up emoji, and he was looking it over one last time to make sure there weren't any embarrassing typos. You're gonna be fine, Broccoli-chan, May said, from where she was sitting next to him. She was going through her bag, probably picking which baby she wanted to present. You literally do this as your job. Izuku groaned. But usually those are sent in the form of nice little PDFs. I don't present in front of people. May leveled him a look. You've checked the presentation 7 times today. I'm pretty sure the 8th time is not going to show you anything new. But what if it... May covered his mouth with her hand. No buts. You'll do great. She closed his laptop and took it from him. Hey! I need that! You can get it back after you're done with your practical, May said, tucking it into her bag. Or I'll tell Keiko that we let you have Starbucks before the test. Izuku balked at that. I thought we were friends. It's for your own good, Broccoli-chan, May said. Her name was called, and she turned to look over at the little robot that had wheeled over to the front of the room. If you even think about working on the presentation, I'll sick Keigo on your ass. Izuku grumbled as May left, slumping in his seat. He couldn't even study for the written test, as they had finished taking it already. Instead, he stood up and started pacing, hurriedly thinking out loud on his future analyses to take his mind off of the upcoming presentation. At least, he was, until an applicant threw a notebook at his head. Izuku adjusted his glasses, looking himself over one last time before he stepped into the room. Usually, students would be wearing their middle school uniform, but he burned his old uniform as soon as he transferred out of Aldera. And online schools don't have uniforms, so he just showed up in something close to business casual, jeans and a t-shirt that said button-up shirt, and hoped it worked. Projecting a confidence he didn't have, he walked into the room. It was a regular classroom with most of the desks pushed to the side and a projector set up in the back. A laptop connected to it already. Sitting at the few desks still in the middle of the room were Power Loader, Netsu, and a couple of other heroes he recognized as prominent support heroes. One sec, y'all.
Welcome, Midoriya Izuku, our only analysis track applicant.
Netsu beamed, a teacup in his hand like always.
You may begin at your leisure. Thank you, Netsu-san.
Izuku smiled, swiping the clicker thing off of one of the desks. He paced to the front of the room, and his presentation came on.
Now, we are all aware that the world of Limelight Heroics is a very competitive place. If you are diligent in climbing the ranks, you can become a household name. But not all heroes who are good at climbing the ranks are actually good heroes.
Izuku pressed the clicker and the PowerPoint used a little fire animation to transition to his title slide. Endeavor is a shitty hero and here's why. A presentation by Midoriya Izuku. Yes, all of the transitions are fire themed. He thought it was funny.
Take the number 2 hero, Endeavor.
It transitioned to a line graph of his popularity since his debut.
When Endeavor first debuted, he quickly rose through the ranks and maintained his popularity as a hero, which is impressive. However, it's not due to anything heroic about him. He clicked, and another line graph was shown over the original graph. This is how much his PR team spent on marketing over the years. It goes to show that he's more focused on making sure he maintains his image rather than actually saving people.
The next slide was a graph comparing his villain takedown rate to civilian casualties, villain casualties, and property damage.
He has no regard for civilian safety, and he has tunnel vision on taking down the villains. Every single takedown involves at least property damage and civilian or villain injury, and there are way more villain casualties than any hero should have. It's not like he doesn't have precision or control. He's a number 2 hero. If he has the quirk control to make a mask out of his flames, he can minimize the amount of casualties he is causing. The next slide was a graph comparing his villain takedown rate to civilian rescues. He even ignores the first principle of heroics: prioritize the rescue. We can see here that he always takes cases that involve taking down a villain, and there have been cases where he has killed one or more of the civilians he was supposed to be rescuing. The next slide was a graph of Endeavor's villain and civilian casualties, with the graph of the minimum casualties for a hero license to be revoked overlaid on top. In fact, Endeavor shouldn't even have his license still. He's caused enough death and destruction that he exceeds the minimum casualty limit for a hero license to be revoked. But because he takes down so many villains, the Hero Public Safety Commission doesn't want to revoke his license. The final slide was a picture of Endeavor in a trash can, with a bullet list next to him basically restating the main points he went through. In conclusion, Endeavor is a shitty hero who doesn't deserve to have his license still, let alone be number 2. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Izuku finished off his presentation with a bow, then stood ramrod straight as the silence went on for several seconds. Then Power Loader started clapping, and soon the whole room was clapping. Excellent job, Midoriya-kun, Netsu said. Izuku let the tension slip out of his shoulders. Thank you, Netsu-san. You may go back out to the waiting room, Power Loader said. You'll wait out there with the rest of the applicants until we can dismiss everyone. Izuku smiled, then bowed again. Thank you for taking the time to consider me. One more thing, Netsu called as he was leaving. Izuku turned back to face him. It's customary for analysis track applicants to have their presentations shared with the analysis teams of the hero teams they choose to present on.
Izuku paled.
I'm honored that you believe it's worth sharing, he squeaked before running away. May, I'm gonna die. Those were the first words out of Izuku's mouth as he practically ran over to reclaim his seat next to his friend. What did Natsu say? May asked. Because if he said something mean, no one will find the body. No, nothing like that. Izuku tried to reassure the situation. It's even worse. Well, if they liked your presentation, I don't see. They're gonna send it to Endeavor. There was a moment of silence. May patted him on the back. I'll arrange your funeral, Broccoli-chan. Izuku groaned, slumping down in his seat. My life is over. Tell Sushi I love her and give her a kiss on the forehead for me. All my stuff goes to her. Make sure I'm cremated and launched into the sun.
Excuse me?
Izuku turned his head a little, and a shiver went down his spine. He recognized that voice, and out of the corner of his eye, he saw Small Might standing in an ill-fitting suit, practically hiding behind the doorway.
Is there a Midoriya Izuku here?
Can a quirkless person become a hero?
I'm sorry, kid, but no. It's simply too dangerous.
If I had waited any longer before jumping in, Bakugo would be dead by now. The kid's right. His quick thinking brought me the...
The kid's right. His quick thinking brought me the time to pull them both to safety.
Toshinori had been doing a lot of thinking lately. Don't get him wrong, he's always thinking. But usually it's along the lines of, I need to go visit Gran Torino again, or I need to be ready to make a speech at the Make a Dream Foundation today. But lately, he's been thinking about quirkism, and one boy who dared to believe he can become a hero. He remembered being in a similar position. A bright-eyed kid without any quirk at all, wanting to become a hero that would be a pillar of justice for people to believe in. Back then, he was supported by a mentor who trained him and passed on her quirk to him. But he was so blinded by his own fear and his weakening body that he forgot where he came from. Instead of passing on the torch and reaching a hand out to another like Nana did for him, he callously dismissed the boy. He took the time afterwards to do his own research. Sure, he'd been teased and pushed around as a kid because he was quirkless, but it had gotten so much worse over the past few decades. Most people who were quirkless were older, and didn't that hurt, being reminded how old he was? So quirkless children were increasingly rarer. The bullying, suicide rates, and hate crimes were atrocious. And sure, he was injured, a hero with an incredibly powerful quirk. But that doesn't mean other heroes with weaker quirks are any more likely to be injured. In fact, his own mentor's quirk wasn't particularly powerful, but he's the strongest hero that Toshinori knows. Anyways, it all boils down to this. Toshinori, standing in a side room, across from the boy who he left on a rooftop. A boy who was able to save a kid that Toshinori couldn't.
Hello, young Midoriya.
The boy clutched his bag tighter.
although his face remained neutral and hard to read.
Hello, Small Mite.
His eyes widened when he realized what he just said, and Toshinori couldn't hide the chuckle that escaped him.
It's alright, my boy.
No offense, but why have you brought me here? Midoriya asked. You made it pretty clear what you thought of me last time we met.
Toshinori nodded. I understand that what I said that day was wrong. Midoriya's head jerked up, surprise clear on his face. Which is why... Toshinori went down on his hands and knees, lowering his forehead to the ground in a proper bow. I wanted to apologize for what I said. The boy gasped above him.
Oh my...
He sat up. Midoriya was crying, tears streaming down his face as he covered his mouth with one hand. You're the one to apologize, he sobbed out. Oh, excuse me. You're the only one to apologize. Toshinori held out his arms. Midoriya hesitated, then practically barreled into him, sniffling as he wrapped his arms around the boy. I was blinded by my own fear, Toshinori continued. If the symbol of peace can be crippled by a villain, what could happen to those with weaker quirks? But that's simply not true. Some of the strongest heroes I know have relatively weak quirks, and rely on support gear and their wits to get them through battles. I'm sure a hero without a quirk could do just as well. Midoriya pulled away, wiping his eyes, the flow of tears gone for now.
Toshinori stood back up. You really thought a lot about this, huh?
Midoriya said.
Apologizing, I mean.
Of course. Although it did take a couple of smacks from my mentor to set my head straight. Toshinori smiled as the boy chuckled. He was glad to cheer him up, even if it was at his own expense.
Gran Torino, right?
Midoriya asked.
Unless you have some other secret mentor I don't know about.
You really do know your stuff, he said. You're correct about both of those things. That's related to something I wanted to ask you, actually. And Toshinori recounted the story of One For All. About a quirk that started with a user who could pass on another quirk, gaining strength from one user to the next. How it was passed to his mentor, who saw a quirkless kid with ambition and passed it to him. And I see that heroic spirit in you, my boy, Toshinori said, stretching out his hand. I would like you to be the 9th holder of One For All. Midoriya stared at his hand, then looked back up at him.
You do know how it sounds, right? Asking me to take your quirk right after you said that I can be a hero without one?
Of course, Toshinori said. And I would support you either way. If you choose to reject the quirk, I will look for someone else to inherit it instead. But I believe you will do great things, with or without it.
What if I don't want to be a hero anymore?
Midoriya pulled out a pin from his pocket. A bunny that looked like the one on Dekuru's signatures. He recognized it from the pictures circulating on the Hero Network.
I found something that satisfies me, without putting myself in harm's way and worrying my mother or my friends.
Then I would still support you, Toshinori said honestly. I meant what I said. You are already doing great things without it. He put his hand down. I'm presuming you're not taking the quirk. Midoriya shook his head, pocketing the pin again. Thank you for offering, though. It means a lot. And I'll help you look. Toshinori smiled.
I look forward to it, young man. Now, you should get back to your friend. I'm sure she must be worried. I'm glad you have such good friends.
Midoriya smiled back, more hesitant than Toshinori's beaming grin. Thank you, All Might, for apologizing.
Toshinori shook his head. You deserved it, my boy.
Broccoli-chan! Who made you cry? Who do I have to kill? Nobody! I promise they're happy tears, May.
Alright. One sec, y'all. Gonna take a hit and then we'll go into chapter 21. Chapter 21. Cheerleading. Izuku huffed, running through the halls and clutching his back to his chest. Despite his morning runs, he still wasn't really in shape, especially since right now he was going for speed over endurance. As he skidded around a turn, he slammed into something, stumbling backwards and onto his ass. Oh, I'm sorry. When he looked up, his life flashed before his eyes. He had slammed face first into Endeavor.
Watch it, boy.
The hero practically growled at him.
Of course. Sorry.
Izuku squeaked, sidestepping him and trying not to look like he was running away, even though he totally was.
Boy.
He turned around, trying to project confidence despite facing death.
Yes?
The hero eyed him up and down, as if disgusted by his very existence.
What school are you from?
I'm homeschooled.
Who's your sponsor then?
Izuku was sure he was sweating bullets at this point. I have multiple, but the main one is Hawks. Endeavor narrowed his eyes.
You're disgracing your sponsors by being late.
Oh, he thought I was a hero applicant. Oh, I already took my exam. I'm applying to the support course.
The hero seemed to lose interest in him immediately, and Izuku internally let out a sigh of relief. Literally, Endeavor just started walking off without saying a word. Izuku wasn't going to question any of this. He was just going to keep running and not think about how close he was to death. The applicants had finished their written tests by then, and Izuku was on time to mingle with them while the obstacle course was being set up.
Hi, guys!
Izuku shouted, waving at his friends as he made his way over. Iida, Honenuki, and Yaomomo were talking, with Yaomomo switching to English every once in a while to include Pony. Shoto was dragged over there too, although he just seemed to be sitting back and enjoying listening to the conversation.
Hello, Midoriya-kun. Hi, Midoriya. Hi, Izuku. Came the replies from the three.
Sorry, I didn't know which one was which, so I didn't do the voices. Izuku slid into the conversation, easily with a bright smile.
How are you guys doing? Nervous? Excited? Both? I'm excited and nervous, but mostly excited. I'm a little nervous, Pony said. Well, I'm excited, Honenuki shouted, holding up his hand for a high five. For a few moments, it looked like he was going to be left hanging, but Shoto slyly high-fived him. Midoriya, you look a little pale, Yaomomo said, pointing out what he really didn't want them to know. Are you okay? Oh, I'm fine. Nothing like a minor scare. A full sprint through UA hallways and a brush with death to really be invigorated in the morning. A brush with what?
Did someone say invigorated?
Izuku screeched as one of the other applicants shouted from behind him. He turned to see a kid with his hair buzzed off, and was so tall that he had to crane his neck. Oh! Hi! Izuku calmed down and took a step back. He wanted some personal space. He bowed a little. Midoriya Izuku, support course applicant. Pleasure to meet you. I am Yorashi Inasa, applying for the hero course. I apologize if I come off as rude, but why is a support course applicant here? I thought the support course exams were inside. Don't worry about it. I'm done with my exams, so I figured I would come and cheer on my friends. I love such passion, Yorashi said. Izuku had relaxed once he realized that he was similar to Yamada and Iida. Heroes should be passionate and have hot spirits, which is why I'm here. Hot spirits, but cool heads, Yaomomo said. Having a clear head is vital to heroics. It is a pleasure to meet you, Yorashi-kun, but I would like to go back to what Midoriya-kun described as a brush with death earlier, Iida said, and suddenly everyone's eyes were on him. Well, I ran into Endeavor. That doesn't seem that bad, Yorashi said. The problem is that Netsu said he would be sharing my presentation about him with Endeavor. I still don't see the problem. The problem is that my presentation was about why Endeavor was the worst hero. Honenuki patted Izuku on the back. I'll help you arrange your funeral, dude. Excuse me. One sec. Sorry about that, y'all. Yorashi looked around. I don't think we should be talking ill about Endeavor in front of his son. Shoto deadpan. I helped him with it. Iida started to arm chop. I'm sure if you told Takumi-san, he would help you. Yes, because my brother being in jail for murder is so much better, Izuku said sarcastically. Yorashi looked horrified, so Yaomomo said, He's joking. Mostly. Yamada-san's voice projected through the speakers and started calling names to run the obstacle race. Izuku shook his head, giving his friends a smile. You guys better go. I'm gonna go get Starbucks. Good luck. Izuku, you have a problem, Honenuki said. Hey, if I'm gonna die anyways, I might as well. Inasa grinned, wiping the sweat off his brows. That was an exciting race. I kept the lead by the skin of my teeth. Todoroki nodded. He was quiet, but seemed to be a good dude overall. It was a good challenge. We should spar sometime. It would be a great way to test both of our skills and our spirits. Our friend group has a group chat. If you'd like, I could add your number so we could coordinate. Todoroki looked through his pockets, clearly looking for his phone. A raccoon came up to Todoroki, a phone in its mouth. The boy held out his hand and the raccoon gently dropped it on his hand before running away. That was impressive, Inasa said. Is that your phone? Todoroki nodded, opening his phone up. Midoriya has it. Midoriya has an affinity with raccoons. It's not his quirk. He's just like that. Inasa took the phone offered to him, punching his number in. Apparently, his contact name was just a tornado emoji. That is very impressive. Also, thank you for letting me into your group chat. Although, why is my contact name an emoji? Todoroki shrugged, taking his phone back. All the contact names are emojis. The boy he recognized as Honenuki ran across the finish line. Hi, guys! That was pretty impressive. Good job. Thank you. You were also impressive. Thanks. Honenuki grabbed both of them, an arm around each shoulder. Team Elemental Quirks. Juzo, Shoto, and new best friend I already forgot the name of. Congrats to us! Inasa went to remind Honenuki of his name, giving the kid the benefit of the doubt. But he got distracted by the small smile on Todoroki's face. It's the first smile he's seen from the Son of Endeavor all day. As he listened to Honenuki celebrate and watched Todoroki smile, Inasa was struck with the feeling that he picked up a good bunch of new friends. Alright, that fucking warped my heart. I need a second. Oh my god. Ah! So is Inasa actually gonna be in UA? Did Deku inadvertently stop Inasa from hating? Ah! Sorry. Let's move on to the next chapter. Oh, I'm loving it. Chapter 22. One for All. Izuku frowned. A notebook opened to 2 columns of 20 names. One labeled 1A, and the other 1B. He was seated at Nezu's desk in his office, empty of the stove because of a staff meeting. Nezu was letting the young boy use his office to go over footage of both the recommendation exams and the entrance exams, in order to decide which heroic students would be granted one for all. Oh, heroics student would be granted one for all. Excuse me. He had already crossed off the names of all of his friends. They already have strong quirks, and it would be unfair to give them something like one for all. He also went through the list and crossed off all students with inherently powerful quirks, like Tokoyami Fumikage or Tokage Setsuna. Going through the footage, he then crossed off names of people who have powerful or versatile quirks if they're used smartly. Names like Yuraraka Ochako, Koda Koji, Tsuyu Asui, Kaminari Denki, etc. Looking through the newly culled list, he realized that the entirety of 1B was cut. There were only 3 names left, Mineta Minoru, Ojiro Mashiro, and Hagakure Toru. A knock on the door alerted Izuku to the time. He absentmindedly groped for the button that opened the door. Lady Nagant, now known as Tsutsumi Kaina, stood at the door, holding a tray in her hands. She has changed for the better since she's been freed. She let her hair grow out again, but shaved the sides, something she apparently always wanted to do, but wasn't allowed to while she was a hero. UA didn't really have a dress code, so she wore sturdy boots, a pair of cargo pants tucked in, and a t-shirt. When she was first discharged from prison, her, Keigo, and Izuku all went on a shopping trip, and it turned out that she loved cat trees. So from then on, Izuku made it a point that whenever they met or hung out, he would give her a funny cat tree or a wine ant tea. They met often whenever Izuku went to see Nezu, of course. But she's also been roped into the friend group of pro heroes that regularly battle over his custody. She's found drinking buddies in the UA teachers, understanding with Keigo over the suckiness of the commission, and mentees to pass advice on to and the younger heroes. Now, she's Auntie Kaina, Nezu's secretary and protector of UA students. She set the tray down on the desk with a steaming bowl of curry and a cup of tea. Lunch from Lustra. Having trouble speaking today. Lunch from Lunch Rush. Thanks, Auntie Kaina, he said, sliding the tray to himself. Is the meeting still going? Yeah, and it doesn't look like it's stopping anytime soon. She rolled her eyes. A small lunch break and then back to scheduling. Izuku winced. Sounds like a great time. All boring admin stuff that I'm going to be the only one paying attention to by the end of it. She checked her watch. I've got to head back. But if you need anything, kiddo, shoot me a text. Whether it's on this secret project of yours or anything else. Got it, Auntie. She ruffled his hair, then left, the door automatically shutting behind her. With one hand, he started eating his curry, while he used his other hand to switch tabs from physical exam footage to written results. He pulled up the last 3 names on his list, switching to the response for the second essay question. What would you do as a hero to improve society? Mineta was immediately crossed off the list. The answers revolved around changing laws for heroine costumes to show more skin. Gross and definitely a student to keep an eye on. Ojiro's answer was interesting. His essay talked about how he would change the hero ranking system from popularity and money to a more fair system based objectively on statistics such as rescue rates, civilian collateral, villain takedowns, and patrol hours. He argues that the ranking system unfairly props up heroes who take a ton of cushy modeling or merchandising jobs, and doesn't acknowledge heroes who work hard to keep people safe. He also points out that the hero ranking system can influence a hero's paycheck, and that it's unfair for hardworking heroes closer to the bottom of the system to not get fairly paid for their work. It was a great read, especially because it's points that Izuku has made in conversations with Nezu. It missed some of the other points of the hero ranking system that get factored in, like raising money for charity, community service hours, or number of successful current and former sidekicks. But overall, Ojiro had the right idea. Ojiro values hard work, and seems to have a sense of dignity that means he wants to accept results with his own abilities. Izuku thought back to the conversation that he had with All Might. You do know how it sounds, right? Asking me to take your quirk right after you said I can't be a hero without one?
I would support you either way, but I believe you'll do great things. with or without it. I'm sure a hero without a quirk could do just as well.
Izuku couldn't do that to him. He crossed Ojiro's name off the list. And then it was one. Hagakure Toru. Hagakure Toru. He went and double-checked her exam results, just in case. Her essay was about improving the foster care system, specifically for those with supposedly weak or villainous quirks. She herself got lucky and landed some good adopted parents, but she's seen bad examples. And she believes that a hero with a weak quirk can use their platform to advocate for reform. She was also the only student to get into the heroics course purely on rescue points, through saving several students from robots and even helping a student escape the zero-pointer. Hagakure Toru would be getting one for all. At the same time as Izuku was entering the conference room, Keigo was storming out like he was about to kick someone's ass. "What was that about?" he asked, stepping into the room alone with Netsu. "Don't worry about it, Deku. I'm sure it will work itself out." Netsu poured a cup of tea for him. "Have you decided who the next holder of one for all should be?" "I have. Hagakure Toru." "Excellent. Then I shall call Yagi. Actually, I wanted to talk to you about something first," Izuku said, cutting off his mentor. When Netsu motioned for him to go ahead, he continued. "I wanted to ask about the empty spot in 1A. Netsu sipped his tea thoughtfully. "I understand that you have applied for the sport course and have found a successful career." He nodded. "I don't see what this has to do with... I also understand that for most of your life, you have wanted to be a hero." Izuku had his breath metaphorically punched out of him. "The spot is for me?" The stoat nodded. "There could be a split schedule between heroics and support. Or you could just focus on heroics or support, with private lessons with me, of course. But from what I understand, the world has never given you a chance. I'd like to offer it to you now." Izuku thought about it. He thought of all the people supporting him now. All the people who told him the useless Deku could never do it. All the people who he's helped through his analyses. He thought about his conversation with All Might that day on the rooftop, and the same conversation earlier this week. Most importantly, he thought about his mom, who looked so relieved that he had found something to be passionate about that the world wouldn't put him down for. "Thank you, Natsu-sensei. It really means a lot that you're offering me this chance." Izuku took a deep breath in, clutching the files to his chest. "But I can't accept it. I've already found something that has made me happy. A way to help without putting myself on the front lines and worrying the people who are supporting me." Before I found that analysis envelope on the ground, I never could have imagined the people I could help through what I thought were my super notes. But now I've helped. I've saved more people than I could have imagined. In a way, I'm already a hero. Netsu smiled. "You've always been, Deku. Ever since you sent off that first letter. I suppose I will have to look into who will be filling that spot. Actually, I've already picked someone out." Izuku stepped forward and handed over the manila folder. "Shinzo Hitoshi, currently a member of 1C. He was very close to having a spot, falling short of the rescue points needed. He also wrote an excellent essay response about reforming public perceptions of so-called villainous quirks. I think he would be an excellent fit for 1A. Included in the folder is also who I think should take his spot in 1C. Then I shall pass along the message to Aizawa-san and Yamada-san.
Izuku's eyes widen.
You didn't even look at the files. I trust that you have made the right choice.
Netsu trusted him. Izuku smiled widely, wiping away the tears gathering in his eyes. Netsu hopped down from his desk, and Izuku held out his hand for the stoat to climb onto his shoulder.
I think we should go check on Takumi-kun now. Hopefully he hasn't tried to murder All Might. Hasn't tried to what?
Keigo thinks he has been doing very well with the self-restraint thing so far. He managed to get through a whole meeting in the same room as All Might without punching him. And considering that the meeting went on for 4 fucking hours, that was incredible. So when Netsu informed him that All Might made his brother cry a second time today of recommendation exams, Keigo went on a fucking warpath. Once the meeting was finished, most of the teachers had congregated in the teachers' lounge, with the exception of a few teachers who decided to do their planning in their classrooms or were taking a nap. This meant that Keigo had an audience. All Might had been sitting at his desk, talking with Yamada and Kaima, when Keigo stormed forwards and slammed his fist on the table.
I have half a mind to punch you in your stupid face, but I did promise my brother that I wouldn't do anything that would warrant jail time. So I'm going to wait before I do that.
Keigo snarled.
And I told myself I would wait to have this conversation in private, but I was just informed that you made my little brother cry for a second time.
All Might seemed to brighten up at that.
Oh, young Midoriya. So there is a brain in that thick skull of yours after all. You're going to explain what the fuck you did this time, or I'm going to...
Keigo, Kaima spoke up, interrupting his rant.
What do you mean second time?
Let's just say that the first time ended with Izuku throwing himself off a fucking roof. If I wasn't in the area, he would be dead.
Keigo's feathers were puffed up, his nails digging into the wooden desk.
So you better have a good fucking explanation.
Keigo!
He was being physically pulled away by Kaima, who put some space between them.
Trust me, I'm angry too, but let the man speak.
Unfortunately, she had a point. Keigo took a deep breath in and let his feathers return to their natural state. Now that he looked, he could see All Might's guilty face. I am glad that I went to talk to him then, he said. The day of entrance exams. I went to apologize to young Midoriya about what I said that day. The entire room was silent. All Might took that as his cue to continue. My quirk didn't come in until I was 16. For my childhood, I was treated like I was quirkless. But I had not realized how much worse it had gotten for those who were quirkless. I had gotten this form because of an injury that nearly killed me. I was blinded by my own fears, so I told him what I thought was true at the time, that heroism was too dangerous for those without quirks. But it wasn't true, and I told young Midoriya that much. He can be an amazing hero, even without a quirk. He's an amazing young man, and I told him that I would support him in whatever he does. The room was silent. Keigo folded his wings back up. I understand now. And if Izuku forgives you, then I will too.
But if you pull anything like that again, I swear I will kill you. Don't kill All Might!
Izuku's head slammed into the door, panting like he'd just run a marathon. Nezu was perched on his shoulder, a folder under his arm.
He apologized for what he said, and I forgive him. And please don't commit murder, Keigo.
After that, he promptly collapsed onto the floor. Nezu jumped off his shoulders, walking over to them.
Takumi-kun, if you hadn't run off in the middle of my sentence, I could have explained the situation.
Sorry, Nezu-san, Keigo said.
And like I said earlier, since Izuku forgave you, I'll forgive you. But if you pull anything else... No murder!
Izuku shouted from the floor, and then started wheezing again. He saw Yamada bend down to give him a cup of water.
By the way, Yagi-san, I must talk to you for a bit,
Nezu said, holding up the file.
It seems you have one more message to record.
Alright. Interesting. Okay. So, alright. So the decision to make Toru the holder of One for All. Honestly, I'm all for it, and I'm very, very interested to see how it affects her quirk, because, like, is she going to be visible? Like, able to become visible? Because I know One for All does, like, make quirks more powerful. I really hope that Mineta is who's chosen to be put in 1C, because he shouldn't be a hero. And I have a feeling that's what's going on. Keigo was about to fucking kill him. Oh my god. That was something. Let's see. We're about 52 minutes in, so I think this is a good spot to stop this episode for now. But I really, really enjoyed all 3 chapters. Please, everyone who's watching the videos, go show 80sGayTrashGoblin some love over on Archive of Our Own, where the story is posted at. I really love their stories. This is the first one I've done a podfic over, but I'm going to be starting a couple more in the near future, most likely, of their series as well. But with all of that being said, I hope you, please, if you enjoyed the video, drop a like and subscribe, and let's talk about it down in the comments. But with all that being said, thank you guys so much for sticking with me through the hiatus, and let's get back to doing what we love here. Ciao for now.